Shalom. I want to start off by giving all the praises, glory, and honor unto YAHAWAH, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, BaHa, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect that are scattered abroad throughout the earth. Now, according to, I guess, new studies, more and more pastors are no longer believing in the doctrine of literal hell. And from certain Christians' point of view, they feel that that's the sign of the falling away. You know, people, departing from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, because more and more pastors are starting to dismiss, this whole doctrinal concept of there being a literal hell. That's a place separate from the Most High where unbelieving souls go to burn forever. And this guy that you're gonna see, this in his podcast, which he's actually the I think the owner of End Time Headlines, which is a pretty decent site, because he always keep updates to what's going on in the world. You could tell he definitely pays attention and does his homework, and he does have a zeal, but not according to knowledge. I don't know if he might be a Jake or not. I'm not going to judge the outward appearance, but it's a good site to use if you're trying to get up to date with current events that's going on worldwide, whether it be politics, whether it be economics, or even just natural disasters, strange wonders, which the scriptures talk about. He has all that. So that's why I actually go to his site. But in this particular podcast, he's discovering how there's a lot of pastors that that don't subscribe to the hell doctrine. And is it because this is a sign that everybody's falling away from the truth? They're falling away from the faith? Or is it because a lot of people are starting to open their eyes to the truth? Is it because a lot of these Christians are window shopping the Israelites, and they're listening, and what they're hearing is making a lot of sense? We let these people be the judge, but it is what it is. We know for a long time Christianity has been a den of iniquity, full of deception, a lot of dogma, a lot of apostasy. Just overall became corrupted. So, maybe, just maybe, people are starting to open their eyes, because the true gospel, the true understanding of the scriptures is actually being taught and spread abroad throughout the world. Just like Yahawashi told his disciples, this gospel shall be preached among all nations, amongst the earth around the world, and then shall the end come. All right, but let's just listen to a little bit of this real quick, and then we'll get some scriptures.
I want to talk about this notion of professed Christians, professed Bible-believing Christians that do not believe in hell. They do not believe in a literal hell. All right, let's go to the United Kingdom first, and then we'll go to America. In the United Kingdom, out of 5,000 in 2019 that were surveyed by this group called the Christian Research Panel, Resonate, only 74% believed that there was an actual or literal hell, while again 10% did not believe, and a further 16% say they were uncertain. Now these are not just average people in the streets. These are professed Christians that don't believe in a literal hell. Then in America, 22% believe there is no hell. These are professed Christians. 22% of those surveyed, and this was another poll group, and now this is America, 22% of professed Christians said that they do not believe in the existence of a literal hell. Now, the reason why I want to discuss this today, because there was a recent article where in which the pastor's wife, this was reported on the Christian Post, Sharita Rogers, passed away recently, and she was the wife of a controversial pastor named Tim Rogers. Now, in case you didn't know this, Tim Rogers was very popular. He was well known, rather, or was made well known. He's a popular Arkansas pastor, so he's out of the state of Arkansas, but he actually called hell a fairy tale and was no different than Santa Claus. Let's read a little bit of this article. Again, this was back in 2018, but here's what it says. Timothy Rogers, a popular Arkansas evangelist and singer, came under fire, because again, this is past tense, after he declared at a funeral that hell is a fairy tale and no different than Santa Claus. Now remember, this is a pastor saying this.
And I knew that he was going to refer to this this individual. All right, I remember when we brothers did lessons on it. But he's not he's definitely not of the elect. He's another false pastor. But in this sense, he was actually right, because the concept of hell that we all know today, that Christianity and Catholicism perpetuated, is in fact and indeed a myth. And it's a fable. I mean, even Peter said, we have not followed cunningly devised fables. We know that the current concept of hell perpetuated by the Catholic Church, it was all invented for mind control. It was to, keep the people in fear and to control them and bind them to their tenets of their religion. And, that kept people in line. And it also, correlated in more money. You'll see these pastors often like Creep Low Dollar and all these different Christian mega pastors that would go into teachings of hell, is mythicized hell, and they will use that to put fear on their congregation. So if let's say you was uptight, with your money, but your pastor is saying, if you don't pay your tithes up, or if you don't give an offering, you might be in danger of the hellfire. So, that'll mess with you mentally. So, you'll give your last dollar, put it right in the collection plate, because you don't want to go to hell. And just think of a lot of people who've been deceived in that manner. You have a lot of false teachers among us, like it tells you in also in 1 Peter. That show it's a lot of false teachers among us, false prophets, that shall bring in damnable heresies. They will also try to make merchandise of you. So the hell doctrine is very convenient if you want to keep people in line and keep that money rolling in. There's a lot of dudes, who serve their own belly. They do not serve our Lord, YAHAWASHI. All right. But ultimately, you have to do your own research. All right. The scriptures say that the simple believeth every word, but the prudent look well to his going. So it's up to you to do the search. You're going to listen to man and how, cunning, crafty they are when they manipulate the word and handle the word of the Most High deceitfully, or you're going to trust in the spirit of the Most High, YAHAWASHI. And then you actually have men that are actually in the spirit, that have the inspiration from the Most High to teach you. But then you also got false prophets with the lying spirit on them. So at the end of the day, it all determines by your discernment levels. But anyway, this guy in particular, his wife had recently passed. But before she passed, she put it out there that there is no hell. So a lot of Christians believe that was her judgment, because, she doesn't believe in a hell. So she might be in hell now, maybe according to some of these Christians. But we know the scriptures tell us that when you die, you simply go straight to the Father. Let's start with Ecclesiastes 3:21 first. Ecclesiastes 3:21, it says, "Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of beast that goeth downward to the earth?" And Christians tell you that earth is down in the center of the earth. You know? Because they don't like the, and they don't look up the meaning of these words. Some of them do because we forced them to. But you'll learn once you read the scriptures that certain words have different meanings. Like, for example, one of the lessons I recently did, going into the, understanding the context, you got to know the meaning of these words. I, went into 3 different examples of where the word wicked can mean different things. In one instance, it could be talking about Esau because pursuing to Malachi, he's the border of wickedness, so he is the wicked. But not every time it uses the word wicked does it imply that it's talking about Edomites. That's why I went to Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, where it talks about warning the wicked from his way to repentance. That's talking about an Israelite who's gone astray. Who's living a life of error. He's in sin. And if you don't warn him to repent and turn away from that wickedness, he will die, but you'll be accountable. So that wicked in that context is talking about Israelite. And then I use the example in Job, the 20th chapter, where it talks about all the hands of the wicked shall come upon him. That doesn't mean a wicked Jake, or it doesn't necessarily imply a Edomite, but it's talking about a laborer or a toiler, somebody that's meek, poor, oppressed. So the same thing with hell. Hell has different meanings. All right, and what I noticed in the comment section, which I believe this person probably the only person that really studied and searched the scriptures out, because he's the only one that actually made a correct comment on his comment board. All right, this person's name is Roberto Lopez, and he says the Bible talks about 3 hells. When humans die, they do not go to a burning hell for a fireplace. Place where they will burn forever and ever. All right. And I'm pretty sure everybody else would disagree with them, including the guy in this video. But he's actually true if you actually do your search. All right. There's people automatically think of this burning place where there's a devil with horns coming out his head with a pitchfork. And he's fire resistant, but everybody else down there, they're just burning in agony. These people that believe that, they also believe that the story of Lazarus and the rich man, the parable, they think that's a literal story. That's why you need the Spirit to understand these scriptures. All right. So let's go to Ecclesiastes, because this is where everybody goes. And then you can also read Job, the 3rd chapter. He even say the wicked is there. They cease from troubling. Ecclesiastes 12:7, it says, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was." All right, you decompose back to the elements, back into the earth. Once your spirit leave this body, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High who gave it. And that applies to every man on earth. Every man and woman, that's the cycle. Your body goes back into the earth, which is hell, all right, which in the Greek is Hades, in the Hebrew is Sha'al or Sha'awah. It literally means grave or pit. That's where your body goes. All right. Let's go to the New Testament, Paul. And it's 2 Corinthians 5. And 1, it says, "For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of the Most High, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens." So you have a temporal physical body on the earth, but you have an eternal body, a celestial body in the heavens. That's immediately where you go back to once you transition from your earthly tabernacle. All right, and that's the process. Then you go up there and you get judged. All right, because judgment plays out right here on the earth. You go back to Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes 3 and 16, it says, and moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. All right, and that's why the Lord is he's reserving the ungodly to the day of judgment to be punished. And you also have the righteous that are, waiting on the Lord, and they're being reserved to deliverance, and that's the judgment. You're going to have those that's going to awake to, glory, salvation, and then you're going to have those that's going to awake to everlasting shame and contempt. All right. So I'll play a little more and then we'll close out. I ain't going to make this long.
This is a pastor saying this. This is a pastor making the statement. In fact, he leads the Prince of Peace Church in Blitheville and made this controversial statement during a more than hour-long presentation at a funeral of a young man, and said that he did not know but was of the same generation. Quote, let me read this. Is he, and he's talking about the young man who passed away, going to hell? Did he accept Jesus as his? And then he stops and says, see, y'all been told a lie. Let me read that again. You have been sold a lie. Now you say, well, what is the lie? Quote, you've been bamboozled. This is what he said at a funeral. Could you imagine this? This is a pastor saying this at a funeral. All that stuff is a fairy tale. What's that stuff? To believe in hell means you have to believe in Santa Claus. So he equates hell in the same falsehood as Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or the...
Well, just as Santa Claus is a mythologized figure, based on St. Nicholas, we know St. Nick was real, but Santa Claus, he's a figment of an imagination. All right, that's a fairy tale. That's fable. Well, the concept of hell. All right, that they use the Greek god Hades, which is supposed to be in Greek mythology, the god of the nether realm. You believe in Greek mythology? But that's what they believed. All right, those idols, those gods, they're all myth. I keep, my tongue keep slipping, but it's all mythology. It's not real. The Lord will use comparisons of things not literal to convey, messages. The scriptures use parabolic talk. They use similitude. They use allegory. You just have to know when to discern when it's either literal or it's not. The place of hell is, the way he explains it, is in a parabolical sense. But what he is conveying is that there is a future judgment where, there's going to be a place of fire, because when he returns, there's going to be a literal judgment that's going to cause fire to erupt for a long period of time. And that's talking about Babylon. When Babylon gets destroyed by fire, people here on the shores of America, they're gonna die in that smoke. They're gonna die in those flames. It's simple. And then even we always get these Christians with this chapter. You go to Revelation 20. So if hell is supposed to be this burning place, right? Let's go here real quick. This is Revelation 20, starting at 13. It says, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell were delivered, Slakia, and death and hell delivered up the dead, which were in them. So they were already in hell. So now they're being delivered back up from hell, and they were judged every man according to their works. But I thought hell was this place where you're burning. So they're going to be the death in hell is going to deliver up the dead which were in them, which we know that that's talking about the graves. All right. And it has different meaning, you know, which we don't expect everybody to understand. All right. Hell also can mean a condition. Like when Jonah was in the belly of the that whale or that big sea monster in the water, it said that he was in hell. But was he literally in a place called hell when he was in the belly of the fish? No, he was in a state of misery. So it could also mean that in a sense as well. All right, but reading this, it says, and death and hell were delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell, because we know the Lord, he put it into death for the nation of Israel. Right? He got the victory over death. It says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Because this is what? The second death. This is the final death. After that will spring immortality for the children of Israel. The first death was the flood. People came back after that. Then guess what? It's no different. This time is going to be by fire. And then people are going to come back even after that. This is the second death. So how is this? You teach that hell is this ever burning place, but how is hell going to get cast into the lake of fire? How are you going to take hell and cast it into hell? And this is the apostle. I remember the elder apostle Tahar went in depth into this a while ago. And when I heard that, I was like, come on, man, that makes too much sense. How are you going to take a place that's already on fire and cast it into another separate place that's happened to be on fire? It doesn't make any sense, man. You see? No, all these wicked souls, they're back here. And even the ones that did pass, their judgment is going to play here on the earth. So they're going to be resurrected, and they're going to eat missiles. All right? They're going to eat missiles, man. Because when you read Revelation 14, Revelation 18, it's talking about how Babylon's going to be destroyed by fire. When the elect go up in the ship, they're going to look down. It's going to look like a lake of fire. Because it's going to be destroyed with fire and brimstone. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's going to be in the form of nuclear missiles. So, you know, there's no such place where you burn forever. That's outside of, that's in the center of the earth. And then you have some people that teach that, no, it's in some secret compartment in a different dimension. That's not where the Most High is, and also not on the earth or in the earth. You know, so it's just, you know, people, they confuse themselves. All right. And then they read words like eternal fire, eternal judgment. I mean, well, we always bring out the example in Jude, where it tells you how Sodom and Gomorrah to this day is experiencing the judgment of eternal fire, right? Jude 1:7, even as Edom, it's like I said Edom, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Is Sodom and Gomorrah and those cities, are they still on fire to this day? If you can answer that correctly and truthfully, then there's your answer. All right. So when they saw the judgment of the great whore, the fire, the smoke go up forever and ever, it doesn't mean that, you know, the place was on fire forever and ever. Because you also, when you read the corresponding scriptures after it talks about Babylon falling, and it's become the habitation of devils and foul spirits and every unclean and hateful bird, it's talking about desert creatures and fowls. They're going to inhabit this place after the smoke clears. And that's going to be an example of the vengeance of eternal fire. And nobody's going to be able to inhabit this place. It's going to be an everlasting memorial, just like Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities are. That's the place of eternal fire. That's the Gehenna, all right, the Gehenna of fire, man. All right. And if you wicked, that's where you're going to be. In the judgment when the Lord returns, you're not going to be delivered and caught up into that cloud so that you don't have to face the fire. All right. But anyway, hey, hey, we have not followed cunningly devised fables, man. We don't deal with fables. Right? We deal strictly with the truth. And it just so happened that people are starting to open their eyes. That's why it says in Daniel 12:4. And it's mainly because a lot of them watch us, all right? A lot of these Christians, that's why a lot of Christians are starting to turn into Israelites. Vocab is very concerned about that. Daniel 12:4 says, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And that's what you're seeing. More truth is springing out because, the world, has been under high level deception since this devil been in power. All right. So all the lies that came out of, the beast and the false prophet is now being dispelled through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. So, I just want to, go into that. All right. And this is the video, pastors that don't believe in a literal hell, from End Time Headlines. Y'all can, peep it out. But with that, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to YAHAWASHI. Shalom.